So, you guys remember how in the last video it was titled Final Assembly ? It's all back apart. So, what happened? Couple issues I ran into. First, we put oil in the motor, started priming it, turning it over, getting everything lubricated. Going good. Awesome. Went through the intercooler system, added water to that, turned it on, primed the system, flowing real good. Then we added coolant to it. First issue that I noticed is I made a very, very large error when plumbing the cooling system. My return coming off the expansion tank, I put it on the wrong side of the water pump like an idiot. So when I filled it with water and turned the pump on, it started pushing water up out of the expansion tank instead of pulling it down through. Easy fix. I just got to put a bung in the bottom of the radiator, put the return there, problem solved, not that big of an issue. But as you can see, the heads are off the car. Why are the heads off the car? Because when we put water in it, we were checking for leaks, hoses, stuff like that, and we've seen water running down the side of the block. Not a good sign because there's nowhere good water can be leaking from there. So we noticed it was leaking out of the head gasket. So we decided, all right, pull the heads off. Luckily, the way that I designed all this stuff to be super easy to work on, for example, you can see the turbo and all this stuff is still mounted there. We didn't have to remove any of that. It was basically undo two V-bands, unbolt the manifolds, take the intake manifold off, take the rockers out, pop the heads off. Took a total of about 25 minutes to get both heads off, so not that big of a deal. Head gaskets, still brand new. Put some copper spray on them, we can reuse them. Now, why did they leak? Well, this engine has been a learning experience for me because I've built plenty of LS's. Not so much of these older truck engines though, and first thing I didn't know was the older truck engines didn't run a tensioner on them or a timing guide, so that was lesson number one I learned before. Lesson number two, this little tiny stupid notch that they put in these cylinder heads on these early models will piss coolant out of them if you use an MLS head gasket. Everything I've been reading has been telling me that. The only solution is either to weld that and remill it, or run a graphite style head gasket. Now, graphite style head gasket, not ideal for boost, so we're gonna go with option 2 or 1 or whatever I said first, which is weld it and remill it. So I'm gonna load these up, taking them out to my buddy Corey Misco. He said he's gonna weld them up for me, and then I'm probably gonna take them over to Automotive Machine and get them remilled. I'll have to drop them off tomorrow, but you know, time crunch huge right now, so gonna load these up, go over there, and Corey's gonna weld them up for us. Alright, you guys, so we are loaded up. We're heading out to Corey's shop right now, and I will catch up with you guys when we get there. So I just got out here to Corey's shop. Some of his cars, customer cars, stuff like that, and we're gonna get those heads welded up. Hey, Tyson. Alright, so we just left Corey's shop. He did us a huge solid, got those heads welded up for me, and tomorrow morning I'm gonna go drop them off at Automotive Machine and get them redecked for the second time. So now to head back home and finish out the rest of the work I gotta get done today. Okay, so we just got back. The heads are still in my car. I'm dropping them off at the machine shop in the morning. Now I need to weld that bung in the radiator, so pulled the radiator and all that stuff out of there. Put a cap on where the return was before. And now I need to go through my fitting box and see if I have an 8AN fitting, which I'm sure that I do. So yeah, I got a bunch of 8AN fittings here. Pretty much any one of these will work. I just need to cut it down, clean it up, and then I can weld it on. This little union might actually work pretty well for testing my fuel pressure without the manifold or anything on there, but it's too bad I don't have any 8AN clean fittings like this, because those would actually work perfect, but I used all of those, so one of these will have to do. Okay, you guys, so I went ahead and just kind of welded the bung in there. You can see down there on the radiator where that 8AN hose is going in, right above the radiator line. So it just kind of goes in there now, and the pump will pull it right out through, help you know, bleed the system and flow the coolant more properly than the way I had it set up before. And while I was at it, I went ahead and pulled the ECU out because I'm going to take this into work up to Vector Motorsports and get an HP tuner license, so that way I can throw a calibration on that for a 3-bar map sensor, 1000cc injectors, and speed density. And we'll just throw kind of like a base cal on it. That way, as soon as the heads get back, we can throw those on, put the injectors in, and hopefully test fire it. So Automotive Machines said it'd be like a 2-day turnaround on the heads, so hopefully I can get them back by Wednesday, Thursday-ish, and we can get this thing fired up and kind of start testing it out next weekend. Hopefully, you know, as long as everything goes to plan and we don't run into any more hiccups on the actual build. But, you know, this is a slight step back. Not where we want to be right now, but you know, we're still looking all right now. While I was at it, I did do some more work on the front suspension, changed the control arm setup and adjusted the angle kit a little bit. I'll lift the car up to show you guys that. With the hood being on the roof, I'm not going to be able to lift it up too high though. So I changed the control arm design. Now, before, this radius rod went under the tie rod and kind of went into this clevis right here. Now, I was having an issue with this where when I would go to full lock, the control arm would be hitting the radius rod because the tie rod was up here. Now I moved the tie rod down, so the tie rod is actually more parallel with the control arm, which is more ideal, the way you want it to be. This goes over the tie rod now and goes to the top of the control arm. Now, small issue with doing it this way that I may run into is the way that this is clevised on here. There is a potential that this may rock the control arm. Now, with the jam nuts tight and everything tight, it shouldn't happen, but there is a possibility that that will happen. A couple things that changed in the geometry when I did that is it's a good thing and a bad thing. It gets more steering angle now. It has 0 Ackerman now, so you can see the amount of steering angle it gets on that wheel now is almost identical. Move this towel. It's almost identical. Lead wheel and trailing wheel are almost the same. So we do still have a little bit of Ackerman, but not nearly as much. That in itself is a good thing, having a little bit less Ackerman than we had before. But I do need to put a steering stop on here because we're on that radius rod, so I'm going to need to put a steering stop on here somewhere right around here. I'll probably just weld the steering stop onto this control arm down here so it kind of limits it right around there. And also, I finally have front coilovers on the car here. So we got some Fortunato coilovers. They are a little bit, they're a little bit lower than I would like them to be. I'm not really trying to have a super slammed out car here, and with the smaller wheels and tires, it's already going to be a little bit lower, but I'm working on adjusting the ride height to try and get it to the height I need it to be. Hopefully I can get it up high enough. If not, I'm going to have to work with what I have and lower the rear to balance it out. But we got the coilovers on there. Had to go ahead and cut the tower a little bit here to clear for that. Not having time to build custom camber plates to actually mount the pivot where it needs to be, which is like right around here. So we're just going to work with the adjustable plates that we have on there for now. I also went ahead, changed out the hardware down here too, put some grade 8 bolts in here, and added a lower brace on the knuckle for the control arm side, so that way we're not trying to oval out that hole from you know, or shear it or anything like that. So we're just kind of giving that a little bit extra support on that control arm. Tie rod side should be fine. I've done setups like this in the past without issues, so with a good bolt, nice thick material there, shouldn't have an issue with that. We got our charge pipes and everything reinstalled. My buddy Brett wrapped the downpipe. Brett also helped me pull the heads on the car the other night. We hooked up a mechanical oil gauge into the oil system right here, just because I think it's always a good idea to have a mechanical oil gauge hooked up into your system whenever you're first starting a new engine. We finished the oil lines in the back for the oil cooler to the pan and all that, so that's all hooked up. You can see though, that's these lines right here going right into that block adapter. We also went ahead, cut our oil dipstick tube down, and got that all set to the proper length for the proper fill levels, so that's ready to go as soon as we get the heads back on. Still need to change the map sensor out, which is on the wall, firewall over there. I did get a new map sensor for that though, which is right, yeah. Got some fluids, some diff fluids, some additives, and I still need to get trans fluid. I got spark plugs and all that, so we're getting close. Hopefully we'll actually be able to fire this thing next weekend. Also, you may be wondering why I have a leak down tester here sitting in my engine bay that is hooked all the way up to the firewall. And that's because we were actually using this to test out the boost controller. So we were hooking pressure up to here and slowly adjusting the pressure through the leak down tester and sending pressure to the boost controller sensor so that we could get that all set up so it activates it a certain way, and test it and try and figure out how it works and make sure the system all works and the solenoid's activating, and everything seems to be working good on that end. So that's why that's there, just to pressure test the boost system. Anyways, you guys, that's gonna be it for this one. Just, you know, final assembly was not final assembly, so hopefully I'll get my heads back middle of next week. Gonna try and get this one out quick to you guys. It's Sunday right now, so whenever you get it, you get it. Hopefully it's soon, but yeah, that's it for this one. So like the video if you liked it, subscribe to the channel if you're new, follow the build along. Head on over to ShaneWhalleyRacing.com, pick up some merch. Got shirts, hoodies, all that stuff. Really appreciate everybody who's been going over there and picking up some merch. It's helped out tremendously with being able to finish this car and get it to where it is now and where it needs to be. So thank you guys so much who have been going over there and helping to support this. And until the next one, I'll catch you guys later.